It's only the second game of the season, and we've already got a massive test here for the Duke football team. Illinois comes to town this weekend.
Hi, everybody. Dick Vitale. Hey, make sure you listen, man. The Locked On Blue Devils with J.J. Jackson. He's awesome, baby.
You are Locked On Blue Devils, your daily podcast on the Duke Blue Devils. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody. Welcome into another episode of the Locked On Blue Devils podcast. My name is JJ Jackson. It's so great to have you here with us today on Wednesday, September 3rd, 2025, as Locked On Blue Devils is your one-stop shop where we discuss everything going on inside the life of Duke athletics. And on today's show, we're going to focus about this Duke football team getting set for a big test this weekend as they will host Illinois. Our pal Josh Cox is going to be on the show with us to break it all down. We'll talk about last week's win against Elon and all that here on the program. If you haven't done so already, please be sure to follow and subscribe to Locked On Blue Devils for free, wherever it is that you get your podcast. Leave us a 5-star rating and written review. You can watch us each and every day on YouTube as well. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, like this video, share it with your friends as we continue growing here on the program, and certainly proud of everybody that subscribes, and shout out to all the everydayers that are out there. Follow us on X at LO_Blue Devils. I'm there as well at _JJ_Jackson_. So without further ado, my good friend, your good friend, Josh Cox is back with us once again. Here we are, man, 1 week down and already a top 15 school, a top 15 opponent coming to town for Duke to take on.
Yeah, week 2, Big Ten opponent. Illinois looked really good in their week 1 matchup, and they come to town to Wallace Wade this Saturday, and it should be a pretty incredible game. Game. It's awesome to get that so early in the season.
I look at what Illinois was able to do in that first week, and we'll get into more specifics of the game in just a moment. But a lot of people, we talk about our friends over at FanDuel a good bit, and that'll certainly be the case again today on the program. You look at last week's game against Elon, the ballpark is 5 touchdowns for Duke to take care of business against the Phoenix. That did not happen. It did not come to fruition. For Illinois against Western Illinois this past weekend, they were favored by 46 and somehow, some way still covered in a matchup like that. So really dominant performance for Illinois to not necessarily play with your food, so to speak, in football terms. They went out there and absolutely executed their game plan. What a strong start to the season, because for many schools, as we saw in week 1, it might take you a little bit to get into rhythm.
Yeah, for sure. And obviously Duke and Illinois both adopted the play an opponent in week 1 that, that you can dominate, that you can make sure your guys get a lot of reps, and you can, obviously a lot of schools are doing that marquee matchup week 1, which is fine and great, but both of these schools will have that week 1 underneath their belt when they come and face each other this Saturday. So, and both, at least Duke in the second half, and then Illinois for the entire game, both teams took care of business in week 1.
So everydayers earlier in the week got to hear kind of 2 things I like, 2 things I didn't like from the first game against Elon. Let me present those to you here, Josh, and get some commentary for you before we get into more specifics of this Illinois game coming up over the weekend for the Blue Devils. 2 things I really liked for Duke. One was the play of Darian Mensah, the debut that you make, 27 of 34, 389 yards passing, 3 touchdowns. He looked more physically imposing, I think, than I was probably prepared for. Absolutely loved it. What a win it was. First play by design, kind of rolling out to opposite shoulder squares and fires. I see you, Jonathan Brewer. I like what you're doing there with the play call. And then the second thing that I really liked was finally getting a chance to see these wide receivers, man, what they were able to do, making big-time plays down the field. Duke played vertical, man. It really wasn't as much of the kind of swing pass side-to-side stuff, not as much stuff behind the line of scrimmage. They really got out there and attacked.
Yeah, for sure. And then you put those things together, and you saw, I believe, 9 different receivers with a catch. You got to see a couple of the transfer receivers, Cooper Barkate, as well as Andrew Anthony get involved. And then, like you said, Darian just did a phenomenal job, finished the game with 14 straight completions. And they took him out there at the end. I mean, I believe if they kept him in, he breaks 400 and he scores another touchdown if he stays in the game. And so, just a really good performance by him. Obviously, there's a lot of pressure on these guys when money gets involved now, and Everybody, they already had a lot of pressure on them being a Power 4, quarterback or receiver. But now when there's money involved, it's even more so. And to watch a guy like Darian handle that pressure well, maybe had a little bit of jitters at the very beginning, but really fought through that and really played a good football game, made great decisions, and did show what we thought, and that was the ability to extend plays, not necessarily design runs, but the ability to extend plays.
Josh, if I were to propose that same question to you, what did you like about the Duke football win? What would you add?
Yeah, I mean, I think the transfers in general, I believe Caleb Weaver, Jaden Francois over on the defensive side of the football. I've already mentioned the 2 wide receivers.
Yeah.
I thought those were all strong suits, strong points. Landon King had a reception at the tight end position. So I think that would be my first one, would be the transfers. And then I would say the second one, and you alluded to it, was Jonathan Brewer. Listen, I think play calling gets a little bit overrated. It's the easy thing to point out when your offense is stalling and not performing. But I really did feel like overall, as you mentioned, he put Darian Mensah in the right positions overall. And he got him in spots where he could be successful. And you got to see a little bit more of what he wants to do with an offense. And then, I would assume that there was about a 60%, of the real playbook that maybe was tapped into. Obviously, they're not going to show their hand in a game like that, even though, 10-10 at halftime, they may have been considering opening up a little bit more. But they're not going to show all their hand. And so those would be the things that impressed me in week 1.
I mean, really not to see the RPO game at all was, one of those things where it's like, okay, this is probably something that you save for an opponent like Illinois, and then you're able to kind of get back into action with the Duke football team. Good on you, man, because I presented 2 things I liked. I just wanted one from you. I felt it was unfair for me to get to pick the first 2 and then ask you to come up with 2 on the fly. But you excelled, man. I love it. Way to go.
Well, it's Duke football, man. That's what it's all about. All the positives.
Let me, everydayers, this is a refresher. 2 things I didn't like from the first week with the Duke football squad. Running the football, once again, I really thought that was a big struggle for the Duke squad. You take out Moore's 32-yard touchdown run. You take out Anderson Castle, another transfer, shout out, that made some plays. Take out that 63-yard run he had. Josh, Duke had 23 carries for like 60 yards. If you take out those plays, not great. Would love to see that improve. I know it's difficult to want a little bit of everything here when you are so pleased with the passing game, but it was something Duke really struggled with last season. And against a team like Elon, you're hopeful that maybe you can get a little bit of a better performance all in all there. I'll let you comment on that one before I present another one.
I mean, you're spot on. We made the exact same comparison on our podcast this week, and that was when you take away those 2 long runs, it really was a kind of pedestrian run game in week 1. And that honestly, it put some question marks back on that offensive line. And there was question marks about that offensive line last year, not about pass blocking. It was about run blocking. Can they open up holes for these running backs? Is it a scheme issue? Is it a blocking issue? What is it? And those questions still remain going into week 2 of this season.
Let me declare, not an offensive line guy. Okay. I will openly declare this. However, in talking to many offensive linemen, they always seem to love run blocking more than pass blocking. In a lot of ways, put your head down, hit the man in front of you. You would think it should be more simple than it turns out to be.
Yeah. And I don't understand that either. I never played it. Love the guys, the relationships that we have with the current guys on the offensive line. They know it. Like we've had candid off the record conversations. And I mean, it got under their skin last year. There was criticism about run blocking. Like they were ticked off in the offseason about it. But I mean, the questions, like I said, the questions still remain. And, I don't know the answers. I wish I knew football maybe a little bit better on those X's and O's side, but they've got a week. Well, they had 9 days between games to try to figure out, how to move that defensive line and those linebackers off the ball a little bit more and open up some space for the running backs.
And we'll be able to see if it pays off against Illinois coming up this weekend. Okay, I've got one more thing I didn't like, and then I do want to focus on the upcoming game this weekend with the Blue Devils, and we'll have that conversation here in just a moment as Duke takes on Illinois this upcoming weekend. All right, Locked On Blue Devils here today is brought to you by one of our new friends here on the Locked On Podcast Network. How about Mazda? Mazda crafts cars for those who choose to do more than simply move. They follow what moves them every time they drive, and that's what makes Mazda stand out. They go beyond safety, style, and performance to deliver a driving experience that feels alive in every detail. Mazda offers more than just safety. It's won more 2025 IIHS Top Safety Pick Plus awards than anyone else. As an athlete focuses on every detail, Mazda does the same. Their metallic accents to hand-stitched leather, it's so incredible. It's the small details that make the big plays, and just like there's more to every player, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved, a proud sponsor of Locked On Blue Devils. Our show today is also brought to you by our friends at Monarch Money. That's right. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there is a Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life and portfolio together in one clean, easy-to-use interface. It's built for people with busy lives. If you put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. It does the heavy lifting. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, smart categorization of your spending, and so much more. When I've been using Monarch Money, I love the feature to break it down by categories so I could see just how much I'm spending on things like food delivery. Now I'm able to budget smarter and save more. Don't let financial opportunity slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONCollege. Monarch Money is a proud sponsor of Locked On Blue Devils. Yes, welcome back in. We've got Josh Cox here from the Section 17 podcast. We're talking about Duke football, getting set for Illinois, taking a look at their win over Elon this past weekend. Didn't love the running game that Duke had. I think another thing I didn't like, Josh, first game of the season, some teams it's really evident, others not so much. For this Duke football team, I don't think they tackled that well in this first game, man. And I know that that's something Manny Diaz was really hard on his guys about. And I love coaches that keep it honest and are kind of brutal with the media so their players can kind of get wind of it, get a message, and kind of lean into that. That's why so many coaches are advocating for something like a preseason game and that sort of thing to work on things like that. But yeah, you're sitting there, you see Duke give up a 3rd and 20 on a draw play of some sorts. And I mean, it was hard to watch at times when it felt like it should have been obvious tackles.
Yeah, tackling is a great way. I was going to say run defense, if you didn't. So, yeah, I believe that's something that's got to – honestly, it was a little bit of a surprise. I think heading into week one, if you'd asked, those that follow the program heavily, right, like what's an area where Duke's probably going to dominate? You're going to say on the defensive side of the ball. Manny Diaz is a defense guy. Jonathan Packey last year, led that defense, and they really created a lot of havoc. And, it was just an underwhelming defensive performance in week one. I know we say that, and historical Duke fans are like, dude, you won 45-17, all that stuff. But, this is a new era of Duke football. This program is holding itself to a higher standard. And, I do not believe that team lived up to its standard week one on the defensive side of the ball. A lot of missed tackles. A lot of head scratchers of missed assignments or whatever it was. But you can't let a team like Elon, look like they've got a top 25, rushing attack in college football.
Yeah, that quarterback, man, he was feeling it. And, he was letting the world know how good he was feeling with some of the plays. Shout out to him for doing that. So hopefully kind of the tackle dynamic and situation cleans up there for Duke. What we like, what we don't like, I guess it's a mixed bag when you look at special teams, because we've talked offense, we've talked defense, and I think it's fair that we're kind of in the mixed bag with special teams. How can you not be thrilled or pleased with a punt return for a touchdown? That's what somebody like Quayshawn Brown does for your team and has the ability to put up flashy highlight plays for your squad. But there's also the muff punt in there. There's also a missed field goal that Duke had. There was a running in the kicker penalty that the Blue Devils had that ultimately was declined. But still, I mean, I felt like it was a little bit of a mixed bag there with the special teams unit.
Yeah, and I mean, to be honest, special teams was a little bit of a question mark last season as well. And so, Duke's got to figure that out. The missed field goals are what they are. This was not one of those missed field goals where you definitely blame the line for not blocking or anything like that. It was just a miss. I mean, he got it off clean. He just missed it. Muffed punts are the bane of my existence over the last 10 seasons. I swear that, whoever's returning punts in that Duke uniform is going to have me nervous. Whether it's fielding punts inside the 5-yard line or whether it's, second guessing themselves and touching a punt late or something like that, like whatever it is. But Gabe Infante runs that, and he's got his work cut out for him. And if Duke's going to beat a team like Illinois on Saturday, you cannot have mistakes in the special teams. You can't do it and win that game.
And even for Queso, man, I mean, you literally housed a punt return, but in the same game, you've got the muff punt that you're working with too.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I'm a huge Queso fan. Like, I legitimately love the kid. Know the kid personally, love the kid. I'm also a big proponent of Samir Hagans. I think Samir Hagans has shown in his career that he is a high-level punt returner, kick returner, and, wouldn't hate it if there was a little bit of a rotation there on punt returns. I believe Samir's earned that. Samir's returned 2 or 3 of them in his career for touchdowns as well. It once again a good problem for Duke to have. You got a couple of guys on your roster that have a history of returning punts for touchdowns. But yeah, you're right. It's a head scratcher for sure. But it is good to know that while they make mistakes, you do have home run threats. Returning punts for sure.
I love it. All right, so in the ACC in week 1, Duke was an afterthought, and rightfully so. You're playing Elon. That's okay. You took care of business. You get the win. Saw big games from Miami, Clemson under the lights, Florida State, massive win over Alabama. North Carolina has all the drama of Bill Belichick's debut, and what a flop that was by the Tar Heels. That first drive, though, Josh, I mean, they get it in the end zone, and then they had a 3-and-out right after it. But, man, all downhill from there. I say all that to say, now you get ready for week 2, and across the board, Duke's the squad that people are going to be watching because there really aren't that many good games within the league beyond this Duke and Illinois test.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to the league. I believe it was a little bit of a bounce back. I think there was only 5 losses by the ACC in week 1, and 2 of those losses were respectable losses. LSU, Clemson. That was just Clemson didn't play well. LSU did. I mean, that's what it was. I thought Virginia Tech had a very good showing, in their game against South Carolina as well. And so those 2 was like respectable losses.
Georgia Tech goes on the road and beats Colorado.
Oh, I'm high on that Georgia Tech squad. I'm high on them, and they proved me right. I mean, by far the laughing stock of the ACC in week 1 happened 8 miles down the road in Chapel Hill on Monday night. That was a brutal beatdown. I saw a tweet that said, UNC is like that kid that shows up to a baseball game with a $500 bat with like all the latest gear, the necklaces, the $200 shades, and then strikes out 5 times. So that's about what that felt like on Monday night. And I know that we're not a Locked On Tar Heels podcast, but hey, they earned that 30 seconds of fame right there.
Yeah, people are going to love listening to our Locked On ACC squad when all the hosts came together, because we certainly gave Isaac a good ribbing after that one. This week does feature, Vanderbilt, Virginia Tech, Stanford, BYU, SMU, Baylor. Not the best games when you look at Duke hosting number 11 Illinois this weekend. Also, do want to note NC State is playing Virginia this weekend, but that is a non-conference game for both teams, as we've just got the 8 conference games in the ACC. Everybody else is going to 9. I think the ACC might follow at some point. But all this to say, what a moment, what a chance it is for Duke, with the world watching, to let them know who Darian Mensah is as Duke's quarterback, and for this team to come up with a big win.
Yeah, 12 noon ESPN game. Should have been an ABC game, but for some reason they want to sell some Arch Manning commercials on that 12 o'clock ABC slot. But ESPN game, going to have a lot of eyeballs on Duke. And the question is, can Duke respond? Can they play in a primetime game in a situation where the pressure is going to be on them, where the team that they're playing is better than them?
Yep.
Can Duke bring it and play their A-plus game and come out with a victory? Or does Duke come out like they did, in week one? A week one performance by Duke is going to not end favorably for them. And so that will be interesting to see. Can Darian Mensah lead that offense to get off to a faster start? Can the defense really settle down, play disciplined, plug up those run games? Because Illinois has an incredibly good run game. They got an incredibly talented quarterback, and Luke Altmaier. They're very good, very, very good. And Duke's going to have to play a pretty flawless game to get that win.
No doubt. I'm excited to see it all come out and unfold with this Duke football team. And we'll talk a little bit more, our final thoughts ahead of the matchup this weekend in just a moment. Lockdown Blue Devils here today is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. The NFL season is almost here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with the can't-miss offer. Tomorrow night, the NFL is back. Cowboys, Eagles. That's right. New customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Right now, the Eagles are favored by 7.5 over the Cowboys. Also get in on the action with Duke and Illinois. The Fighting Illini road favorites right now by 2.5 over our Duke Blue Devils. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. FanDuel is a proud sponsor of Locked On Blue Devils. Okay, here we go. The moment we're waiting for. Duke and Illinois this weekend. And I'm ready to, once again, just put the ball in Darian Mensah's hands and let him do what he does best. And we'll see kind of, it's not the Elon secondary he'll be going up against, a much better Illinois team. Again, that won by 49 this past weekend. We'll see what Mensah's made of.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I believe the wide receiver core showed that there's some depth there. Shout out Jaden Moore, Jordan Moore's younger brother, carrying on that number 8 legacy for Duke. But, Duke showed some depth at wide receiver. Once again, I don't believe they show their full package. I don't believe they utilize the tight ends, Jeremiah Hazley and Landon King, like they're going to be utilizing them throughout the season. And then, as we mentioned, the run game, Duke they have to be able to move the ball on the ground. And if they cannot move the ball on the ground, you're asking Darian Mensah to do an incredible amount of work. You're asking him to basically Joe Burrow this thing, right? You're asking him, to Dak Prescott, right? We don't have a run game, and we're just going to throw the ball, and hopefully you throw for 425 yards and can somehow, eke out a victory. I don't think that's the case. I think Duke's got to run the football on the offensive side.
Beyond that, Josh, it's just the second game of the season, right? Like that would just be so upsetting and alarming and disappointing to already be in the second game of the year and feel like you got to abandon the run game. You haven't even played conference games yet. So just some form of kind of life running the football.
Yeah, for sure. And I have confidence that the two things that the team didn't play well. And I don't know if it was taking Elon a little bit, unserious. I don't know what the deal was.
Sure.
And then also you have to believe that there were schemes and run blocking and different things that Jonathan Brewer was just not showing. He was not showing his hand this past Thursday night. And there's going to be some wrinkles, maybe getting the ball on the outside a little bit more or whatever it might be that you're going to see in that running back room. On the positive there, a shout out Nate Shepard, true freshman. Was a lot of talk about Nate Shepard in the offseason, but in the limited amount of snaps he got, really looked solid as well there. So four deep legitimately in that backfield. So maybe one of those guys has the hot hand and Coach Brewer rides him and Duke can really, put out some legitimate numbers that are not top heavy for the run game.
Well, we'll see how it all plays out. We'll see what the Duke football team is made of as they get set for Saturday's game. Josh, I know you mentioned your podcast and coverage that you guys have. How can people support you?
Yeah, for sure. The Section 17 podcast. We're on X and Instagram at Duke FB Talk, and then on Facebook, a Facebook group there, Duke Football Talk. But yeah, you can hit our YouTube page, all that good stuff. If you're local, listen, there's a good number of tickets still available for Saturday's game. So if you're local within driving distance of Durham, I want to encourage you to come to the game. If you do come, get there early. We tailgate in the blue zone. We'll be in lot B3. Come hit the tailgate up. It's open to the public. We have everything you need. We have more than enough food. You can just show up. And so make sure you're there.
Check out Game Time. Use code LOCKEDONCollege. You get $20 off your first order. So a great chance to be there for Duke football this weekend. So fired up for that. Josh, great to see you as always, man. We'll talk again soon, okay?
JJ, have a good one, man. We'll see you.
All right, that's my pal Josh Cox joining us here on today's episode of Locked on Blue Devils. That's going to do it for our show here today. As always, go Duke. We'll talk to you again tomorrow. My name is JJ Jackson. Thank you and good day.